United States of America.
One nation.
Under God, indivisible. Everyone tries to give me some crap. First thing, approve the agenda. Anyone have any changes or corrections or anything they want to add to the agenda? If not, I guess I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Seconded by Pat Scripture. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Okay, the agenda is approved. First thing on the agenda, it's always nice to have things like this on the agenda when we are recognizing an outgoing park board member, Matthew Lash, for his service. I know he had to resign because he decided to move out of the lovely city limits of New Prague. But, I guess, Matthew, I'd like to thank you for your, not only your service, but also being involved in the park board. The different boards and commissions that we have for the city are really beneficial to the council because obviously we can't be everywhere all the time. And the park board has, in my mind, has done a great job the last few years, and I know you've been very instrumental in that. So on behalf of the city of New Prague, I'd like to recognize Matthew Lash and give you a certificate of appreciation. Come forward.
I know.
Still growing out of your head, Chuck.
Yes.
Turn around. See
Well,
the-
thank you very much. And I know they don't live in town anymore, but please come use our parks.
Oh, yeah, will do. Thank you.
Low income,
Thanks, Maddie.
very low, and the other must be.
Okay, now, next on the agenda, resolution approving the special assessments. I guess after our last meeting, we had a couple applications, and they both qualified. I guess they both qualified on age.
Yes, I met with 3 individuals, and the ones in front of you are both based on age. They meet all of the requirements as far as age and income, and based on that, we'd recommend approval of the deferrals. The deferrals do come and provide for interest while the assessments are not paid, so the interest is not deferred, but the principal amount and the payment is deferred. But it does accrue interest at the rate of 4.039% interest.
Okay. Any questions?
So they will be paying interest?
Correct.
Oh,
The repayment ends up coming either upon the death of the applicant, the sale transfer of the property, the loss of the homestead status, or a determination by the council for any reason that there would be no hardship upon the applicant to require immediate or partial payment. So typically death, sale of property, or loss of homestead status would invoke the repayment of that.
Okay. Any other questions?
Or Scott says if they win the lottery.
I mean, that's the whole discretion
Mission.
of the council. When you find out they no longer qualify income-wise, that's when you would come back.
Okay.
Would recommend you take action on each of them separately.
Oh, okay, that was my next question. You read my mind. So I guess on the first resolution for Clarence Vavra, I guess I'll make a motion to approve that.
Second.
Second by Dave Brusick. There's no further comment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, that passes 5-0. The next one is for June
Pfeiffer.
Pfeiffer.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Mark Bartuszczyk, second by Dave Brusick for June Pfeiffer. If there's no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, both of those have passed.
Mayor, in case there was any question as to, and taking a look at it, is okay, so we defer this, how do we pay our special assessments? We have a number of property owners that will prepay their special assessments up front, And so we technically have those assets to use to pay for this. If we were to reach at the end of the period of time where they're still alive and living and it's been deferred, then we might have to take a look at something in the annual levy for the most part, but it typically hasn't been an issue.
Okay. Good. Next, proposed amendments to the New Prague City Charter. Because Scott had a bail on us last time. No. I hope your meeting went well. Good. So I know David, you met with Scott and Mike. Is there more issues of concern, David, or how do you want to?
No, we've talked pretty much about everything. Couple we didn't get to.
What page are you on?
I'm on page 12.
Yep.
It's subdivision 6 at the top of the page. Let me read this again. I think I had a question about it.
If your question is, no work shall be finally accepted until final inspection approved by the administrator, I don't do all of that.
Right.
But in the process of working with the city engineer and our director of public works, he is involved working with Chris. And so basically, they come in and recommend in the final paperwork that they've done the inspections, all of the items have been taken care of. Once the council adopts it, and we typically do that by resolution, we have a 2-year warranty, and we follow up every year before the warranty finally runs out, that we take care of any punch list items or warranty issue items within that time frame. So the way that it was worded is that I shall carefully inspect all work done. You're right, I did not do any of that. But in the end,
Charter Commission, I know we've got two, but the reality was somebody had to cause it to be done, and that's the way the language was arrived at. This does not exactly do that, but really is the one that makes this happen, whether it's through staff, outside consultants, or whatever. But that was the direct out language that carefully. But still, it has to be coordinated by the.
Yeah, my concern here was that it's understood that Mike can't do all of that, even if he wanted to. And so that I was thinking put something in there that would say under Mike's direction, or in essentially, I didn't read what was crossed out. If I had read that, I would have said, why would you take that out? Because it's understood that somebody else working for the city under Mike's direction has been authorized to do the inspection, to tell Mike it's all looks good, and Mike is still, when the day is done, it's still Mike's responsibility. But so it probably doesn't need to be in there. To me, it's an understood thing.
Yeah, no, and we had talked about that in our pre-meeting discussing this. I think it really is an understood thing, and I think what was happening is the line, or the sentence that's taken out, was really directive, and it basically said that
Right.
has not and will not be doing that, but the last line still had action behind it, that not coming forward on your agenda unless Mike has checked off all his check marks on a list that that was the check and balance. And rather than adding language, again, the charge kind of the commission was out that and then it was understood somehow causing this to be done.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the very last sentence after all the red cross out, the no work shall be finally accepted until final inspection and approval by the city administrator.
Right, right.
If they thought
I understand it. My thought was, well, maybe it has to be stated that Mike doesn't need to do all of that himself and can't. So that's fine. Section 603, we've talked about, I talked about that with Scott already.
All that was is, again, it more or less, council has that authority, and you said that the council have that power anyways. And again, next one you had was on 604. Again, the idea and the understanding and the discussion point was nothing's coming forward until it's.
Yeah. It just, after reading it over a couple of times, I would have reworded it a little differently. It took me quite a while to, and maybe it's just me.
There was, and my recollection on this, and again, keep in mind, the only originally said all other purchases shall be. Not what happens. It really is staff.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's coming from whatever it may be on a street project. Provided, and I don't remember. The idea was that the focal point, let's say, trying to do anything beyond that.
14.
Scott, you should probably be talking into the microphone because people at home probably can't hear you.
Yeah, I know my voice is really weak tonight, and I'm sorry. I'm over the cold, but it's still in my throat, and I can't get my vocal cords to work. But
I guess that's basically all I had. Yeah.
We had discussed some earlier provisions on explaining the rationale behind language, obviously, that what I explained to Dave is a number of these provisions that were added, and there's one that's lengthy provision in there as to appointments, and, council member passes away, what do you do? That a lot of that's derived directly out of state statute. We wanted to have very clear and concise language in here because that's what people would look to. We didn't water that language down out of the statutes, and the rationale behind that was, based on my recommendation, that's what the courts are going to interpret. And they've already interpreted some of that language, so we can point to that and say, this is exactly what that means. And that's why we have that language there instead. That's a number of those provisions that Dave was talking about. Well, why is this written this way? It sounds archaic, it sounds strange, but some of those sentences were directly brought forth out of the statutes. So we can say now, no, our charter exactly matches what's in state law. We know exactly how to interpret that because courts have done that for us already. So that was the way to simplify it. It may sound or may look a little bit hard to read, but the reality is it's actually simpler. There's no subjectivity left there anymore. It's already been interpreted for us. And we talked about a number of those, I think, Dave.
Yeah.
And there were certainly some good points. Dave did catch a couple of things that I think are arguably typographical errors. The Commission wanted us to go forward and make sure all of our terms were distinctly the same all the way through. Words like boards and commissions, well, he found one that there's the word commission without an S on it. That's pretty ministerial. I circled the S. We'll add that in. That's not a problem. There was another part, another section in section 2.10 on appointed offices where, again, went through, nobody on the commission had a concern with it, but the word commission was merely capitalized, and really to make it consistent with what's further up in chapter 2, in 2.2, Dave was suggesting that that be boards or commissions, and I don't have a problem with that. I don't think that affects your reading tonight if you wanted to do it. Beyond that, I don't think there was any others that were really changes, were there, Dave?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, you explained why many of them are the way they are, and I understand that now.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns regarding the updated charter that was done so well by the Charter Commission?
I guess that since we deferred to this week, I will make a motion to accept the ordinance amending to the new Prague City Charter.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion by Dave Brusick, second by Pat Scripture. Is there any further comments or anything? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, passes 5-0.
Timing-wise, with those changes, then as you take a look at the schedule that I included in your packet, then we would work to get this initial ordinance to the newspaper and have it published on November 3rd, with a public hearing being held at 7 p.m. on November 17th.
Okay,
I will make a motion to have a public hearing on the proposed city charter amendment for November 17th, 2014 at 7 p.m.
Second.
okay, I got a motion by Dave Brusick, second by Sean Ryan to hold a public hearing on the proposed charter amendments. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, good. Thank you, Scott, for clarifying a lot of Dave's questions. I know Next on the agenda, the consent agenda. Any questions or issues?
I was looking at Fund 415 on the open invoices,
Oops.
and we're reimbursing for sod and concrete. Something happened, and then they fixed it and we needed to reimburse them, or we don't fix our own things?
I can't answer that one, Pat. I can
Okay.
certainly find out and get an answer back for you tomorrow. I just, there would have to be something extenuating that we would be reimbursing.
The only thing I can think of is probably Doug Schenecker is probably at his property. So knowing Doug, he probably did it, and asked Glenn if it's okay if he just did it, since he works in that sod industry, in that, fixing that.
Doesn't usually the, whoever did this street project fix things like that, or?
I would think so, but
Oh.
again, I don't know what the circumstances are.
Okay.
But
Had some in the past where the property owner has wanted to do their own seeding, and I don't know that that's necessarily the case here. We wouldn't give them anything for that, but they can choose to do their own seeding versus some don't want sod at all. But I can't honestly tell you without doing some checking. I can look at that and then email everybody out if you'd like that, just to get verification. But anything coming on there would have gone through Glenn to get to Patty for approval. But I can't tell you what it is.
okay. Anything else, Pat?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
If not, I guess I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Seconded by Sean Ryan. If there's no further discussion or questions, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, the consent agenda is approved. Moving right along, miscellaneous. Ken, you're the only one here tonight.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody on the council for support of the Settlers Park Trail, and then the ribbon cutting that we had last week. The SMSC folks that were there were impressed by the turnout we had.
Impressed by the scissors, I know that
and the
much.
scissors as well. They really liked those. So no, they followed up with me and said they liked, we had a good turnout, and they liked the trail, how it turned out. So
Good,
hopefully there'll be more opportunities for other projects in the future. So.
yes. And the trail is very nice. I've used it 2 or 3 times already since it's opened, and it's very nice. Okay, that it? What about, you got anything for Glenn or anything? Did he leave you any notes, or?
No.
Okay. Pat, you got anything?
No.
Dave?
I have a question for either Mike or Scott. When we post our meetings, do we have to post each meeting separately, or could we say we are going to be holding meetings the first and third Monday of every month except for? Can we do that for say the entire year? Or do we have to do it on an individual type meeting?
We post notices for every meeting. We send it to the newspaper and the radio station, both electronically and posted on the bulletin board at City Hall.
Could we then?
He's
Do
just
it.
wondering legally, can you do that,
Can
or
I,
do you have?
can I do that for say for a 6-month period of time or a year period of time?
Legally, you can, if your regular meetings, arguably you can at your organizational meeting adopt something that says, we're going to have a meeting every Tuesday, whatever day it is, for that year at 7 o'clock, on the second Tuesday, whatever. Some cities do that. Most of those cities that I've got that have dealt with that, I see they publish, just like Mike says, that's my recommendation. You post it every week anyways with your agenda. And typically that's what's done to give over notice. But no, there's certainly an argument. You can establish your regular meeting schedule at the beginning of the year, which you do also, and have it go through that. Now, if you're some entity that doesn't really have a regular meeting schedule, it's not as easy to do that. But most cities meet every month, and they do that. A lot of towns do that as well, and they'll say we meet on, Thursday at whatever time and something along those lines. But you're actually adopting a resolution that typically that gets posted as well on the board, unless you post every, week.
Okay. But you'd have to, if you didn't follow that, you'd have to have a resolution
Yeah, I
stating
think
it'll
that
be on
you
such
really
and
have to
such.
set it. You have to have an action that's adopted, and typically if
Okay.
it's in writing, it's a resolution.
Okay.
You might have a motion to do that, but then you still have a list that's there that's provided, and the public can see that and walk in and look at your board and say, yep, council's meeting every first and third Mondays at 7 o'clock at such and such place.
Okay.
Special meetings, you'd have to specifically state when those are done, place, time, and purpose of that special meeting. And if you do a special meeting, say the council wants to meet next Tuesday, a week from tomorrow, we'd have to post a notice that says date, time, place, and the purpose for that. And then you have to stick to what that purpose is. You can't stray off and start talking about other aspects that are beyond that.
Okay.
So there, the public is given direct notice of what you're going to discuss at that special meeting, and you can't suddenly get off into whole other issues when somebody's brought it up to the dais.
Thank you.
Do we have to post the agenda of the meetings? I mean, I think we do,
You do,
We post these green sheets on the board.
right.
right, but
really,
not,
the notice of is a regular meeting, I would say no, you arguably do not have to do, if it's a regular meeting that you've set up for the whole year, something along those lines. If it's a special meeting, yes, you basically have to say what the purpose is. My recommendation is, and I've given this to Mike many times, you expressly put it there, and when you have a special meeting, it says it there. This is what you're meeting for. You have a special meeting coming up after this meeting, it expressly states what you're doing it for and what the statutory authority is to do that meeting.
Okay.
Stick with that, and that's what you go, and that's what Mike utilizes.
okay. Anything else? Mark?
Good.
Sean?
Nope.
Patrick? Mary Jo? Kind of a light agenda. I know you got a lot of things you want to go over. Mike?
We don't have it yet. We expected it last week. It's due to arrive this week, but wanted to try to set a date. Patty was initiating action with the utility board to try to pick a date in the first week of November to have the council hold a workshop session on the compensation plan from Springstead based on the survey work and the evaluation of all of the benefit analysis that went done. As part of that, we've got a regular meeting already scheduled for November 3rd. Tuesday, November 4th is the election, so we would not recommend holding that on Tuesday. So the choices really would be is whether you would want to go ahead of the meeting on November 3rd, or whether you would want to pick Wednesday or Thursday, November 5th or 6th that week, to have a joint meeting with the utility board.
Did she
We've
get any
not-
response back from them
No, we've
yet?
not heard back from them. We asked them to kind of rank their choices of those three, so that we could poll you tonight and see what your interest was, and then compare the two and see if we could pick something from there.
My choice would be before the November 3rd meeting.
I don't have a problem with any of them, so
Yeah, I
right now I'm
Okay.
open.
I
mentioned
couldn't do the 6th.
Pardon?
I couldn't do the 6th. I have to go to Rochester.
Okay. What about having it at 5:30 on the 3rd? That works for the utility. That would give us an hour and a half? Does that work for you, Sean?
Yeah, I'm good on the 3rd.
Why don't we tentatively do that? And then we're kind of just,
You think that'll be enough time? Or-
hour and a half, I think so. I mean, if it's more than that, we can always have another meeting, but.
You could choose just to continue the discussion into the council meeting and just push the council agenda back would be the alternative at that point.
Yeah, if we needed to. Okay. Well, why don't we tentatively shoot for that and bounce that off the Utilities Commission?
Okay.
I think that would work. I think that way we're just, I think Mark's idea, I think we're just committing to just one day, we don't have to move around a bunch of schedules.
The challenge then obviously is this arrangement with the utility board here that,
We better check, yeah.
I'm not worried that we've got the room already reserved. I'm just saying it just doesn't set up for where in the past, if you've met with utilities, everybody's been around
Well, you can check with this, school board. We can always pull a table out.
we can maybe see if we can set up the tables
That's
in
what
the
they
back
usually do on their
that,
workshops. They set up a couple tables and they just do their workshops in the back there. And just make sure we set it up that way before.
Okay, we'll do that.
Did you want an alternative date too?
Well, the alternative, you said no on the 6th. I was going to ask whether you wanted to look at Wednesday, the 5th as a tentative backup. If for any reason we can't get all of them to meet, do you want to look at that as a backup?
I'm fine with the 5th.
Yeah, I'm like I said, I think Dave and I
Yeah,
are
I'm
wide
fine.
open. And so, yeah, why don't we look at
This
10?
is Wednesday?
Yeah.
Sure, I don't know right now, but
Yeah.
sure.
Okay, but based,
Preferably not, but
but we'll go to that, or look at that as second choice. We get in touch with you, but basically, Pat, doesn't appear you're not available on the 6th. So we'll just kind of rule that one out now then, based on all that.
Okay. Good. Anything else?
No.
I don't have anything, so I guess go into closed session.
Just a motion to adjourn this one, and then you would reconvene in a special meeting.
Okay, I'll make a motion to close the regular scheduled council meeting and then go into special meeting.
second.
Second by Mark Bartuszczyk. There's no other comments. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Okay, we'll go into special meeting. Thanks, Mary Jo and Ken, for holding up your end of the bargain again. Those other guys owe you something,
Do they come to work at least?
You cover for them at work, too?
I have no comment.
No comment.
Smart choice on your part.
Yeah, Mary Jo, I have one.
That might be the new record. We started.
Oh,
late,
I know.
too.
I think one time we were at like 7:28 or something.
Yeah, but we started a couple minutes late.